Hello viewers, today we're going to be cleaning and servicing a Galaxy branded 2150 12-inch oscillating table fan. Very run-of-the-mill fan, perhaps one of the most common 1970s, 1980s vintage fans available. But at the same time, it's just absolutely phenomenal. It's a great product. It looks great. It's powerful, it's quiet, it's reliable, it's efficient. It's just a phenomenal product. This one, surprise, another one of Fan Collector Russ's. And it's in pretty bad shape. The motor is either locked up or very close to being locked up, if I recall correctly. The motor housing is particularly dirty. I don't know where this was used or what this is, but I don't know. That looks like some pretty deep staining to me. I'm not too confident that we're going to be able to get that out, but we'll give it a shot. Certainly can make it better than it is. Not that that's a high bar to clear, but we'll make it better. At least we'll make it run properly. Whoa. Oh, the tilt mechanism is a little dodgy too. Guard's not put on properly. Blades aren't too bad, we'll clean those up as well. Some stinking paint splatter on there, which is so common. This particular model of fan too, it seems like people all the time use these for a house renovation project and then just throw it out. Just very annoying. The guard clips are missing, of course, so we just put pieces of wire to hold it together. We use that, that's fine. Cord is very dirty as well, but we'll get the whole thing cleaned up as best as possible within reason. So let's begin by testing it out and seeing how it runs. This is a more recent model. It has the plastic handle. We should be able to just tighten the screw up on here. Tighten that up a little bit to stop this from falling down like that. The tilt mechanism is still working. You can hear it clicking into place properly, but this just doesn't quite have enough. Yeah, that was very loose. There. Okay, totally lost my train of thought there. Whatever. Oh yeah, this is a more recent version with the plastic handle. The older ones had the metal handle on the guard, like this one does. This is an older version. This was a little bit more stable, I think. Okay, so it's completely locked. See what the power factor is, just to make sure this is not a capacitor related issue. I doubt it's probably locked up bearings. Yeah, power factor 99, so the capacitor is fine. I have not seen a lot of these with bad capacitors, but over the last couple of years I have run into a handful, and that's reasonable enough. You know, at some point, as reliable as capacitors are, at some point the time will do them in and they're going to start to fail. But these are 30, 40, 50 years old now, so the capacitors have all done their time. And I still stand by the statement that capacitors are very reliable and well worth using in an application like this for the double plus efficiency gains that you get over a shaded pole motor. I also really don't see too many of these locked up. Eventually that's going to start changing, but these really stand the test of time very, very well. And even in this area, I still see a bunch of these in service from time to time out in the wild. The guard is surprisingly clean, and the blades are surprisingly clean considering the rest of the unit. Maybe that fan collector started to wipe it down, I don't remember. Yeah, it's a shame that these are stinking painted. You can get that off. It'll come off with lots of time, hot water, isopropyl alcohol, things like that. I've cleaned these up before, but it's such a tedious process. I don't feel like dealing with that. A lot of times, even on my own units, I don't deal with that. It's really not noticeable from a distance. Oh, that's interesting. This is very, like, got grease on there. That's not supposed to be like that. That is not supposed to be like that at all. And that's odd. That is very odd. I wonder if someone tried to oil this but just didn't understand the way it worked and just smeared grease all over the place in hopes the blade would free up. It's not really a good method to try to fix things, but sometimes people don't use good methods. Wow, that is locked solid. Alright, well, the first thing we got to do is try to make this run so that we can clean the shaft off and get to the bearings. We got to take this pin out. It does happen, but it's not too often that you see these locked up solid like this. It doesn't have a flat part of the shaft. Rats. Okay. It might spin now. It's not going to spin well, but might allow us to get the job done. Yeah, it's running very slowly, but it should be enough to get the shaft cleaned up. There's definitely spent some time in either in the sun or in a very damp environment, as this has become very brittle, which is not great. This, it just yanks off. Yes, it feels like it's going to break. I've never had one break yet, but this one is really stuck on there good. There we go. See, nothing broke. That literally is the only way I know to do it. And other very reputable collectors have told me the same thing. That's just the way it is. Okay, so here's the motor. There's the pretty reliable 2 microfarads capacitor on there. Very dusty inside. Yeah, I don't know what happened up here with the all that grease. That's very strange. So now we'll get that piece out of the shaft. We'll get a large wrench to support the shaft like this, and then we'll tap it out. It looks like that side is larger, so we'll try to force it out in that direction. Okay, it's moving just fine in that direction. Now I gotta get a punch to push it the rest of the way out. Okay, that is now removed. So now we can go ahead and clean the shaft off. There's a shield type apparatus here, which I want to pull out before we do the cleaning, because I want to get behind this as well. It's like a rubber shield. I've been told this is part of the lubrication system and that it flings the oil back inside, but I'm not sure that's accurate, because this is not a situation where there's a volume of oil circulating around inside the fan. It's not an oil bath. So I tend to think that this is more of a like a dust shield or something like that, but I could be mistaken, I'm not sure. Sometimes these get very stiff and brittle with the age. This one is still pretty pliable. Alright, so now we should be able to clean the entire length of the shaft here. We're going to get some sanding the paper. I have to get some new sanding the paper soon. A lot of these pieces are getting very dirty. These pieces have cleaned hundreds of motors over the years. Alright, so let's get this turned on. We don't have a lot of time to work with because it's going to heat up quick running this slowly. Oh, starting to take off now. Let's clean this up. Alright, that's pretty good. We'll just follow up with a very fine grit. I'm going to clean off any what you call that, shavings or grit that's on there. And now we should be good to take this apart. I don't know what's up with this, all this, I guess it's oil that's on here, solidified oil. And that does not belong there. It's going to be kind of difficult to clean out too, because it's all like in the grooves of the threads. But it really should be cleaned out, because the plastic might over time break down from being exposed to this, depending on what it is. Not all lubricants are plastic safe. That's why I mentioned on many occasions with the oscillation gearbox being full of plastic gears. When you re-grease that, you have to be careful with your selection of grease, because a grease that is not plastic safe can rot the gears out over time, and then you'll have another problem to solve. Well, this is not great, but it's working. I want to get all this off of here. It serves no purpose, and it doesn't belong there. it's all the way around too. All over the bottom, all over the sides. I think that someone that knew that you have to oil a fan would know better than to know where to put the oil. I mean, the oil doesn't stink and go on a locking nut that holds a gourd on. It doesn't even make any sense. I don't know why you would put oil on here, or grease, whatever this is. Wow, what a mess. It's all over the entire thing here. You just never know what you're going to find in these things. What people do with common household appliances is always, you just never know. It's always unpredictable. Okay, that's a lot better now. I think we'll finish up with some isopropyl alcohol and really get that cleaned off there. The isopropyl alcohol will kind of break down whatever that is and get the remains of it out of there. I'd have to use a brush to get in there too. I'll have to clean out that nut pretty good as well, but that's fine. That'll be easier at the cleaning area to take care of that. All right, that's good enough. It's most of it off. I don't know what the heck that was about. Very strange. Okay, now let's do a little bit of cleaning of the motor, get some of that dust off of there, and then we'll take it apart and start our repairs. It's just going to need a good clean out of the bearings, nothing major. A regular yearly routine service would have prevented this from breaking, but a lot of people don't do a yearly routine service on pretty much anything anymore. Certainly not a common household fan. But it should be done because this is as much of an appliance as everything else. It has a maintenance period like everything else does. That's pretty clean now. So let's split this motor apart and get those bearings cleaned out. So we're going to use the infamous JIS screwdriver with this. So these 4 screws around the outside of the motor are not regular American number 2 screws. They're what's called the Japanese Industrial Standard, or JIS screws, and the bit is just ever so slightly different from the American bit that it will strip out. This is what it looks like. As you can see, it looks pretty much like a regular number 2 Phillips, but it's just, I guess, something about it's ever so slightly different. I used to have these strip out all the time on me, which is annoying. A lot of people did. And then I think it was Colin discovered that these are the JIS bits. So got a set of JIS bits and the problem went away. It's a complete game-changing apparatus. Just comes out perfectly like it should. Completely unscathed, as it should be. Okay, before we go any further with pulling out the shaft, we're going to go into the oscillating gearbox and see how much grease is on the end of the shaft and take off as much as possible. And we are also going to detach the reliable capacitor. There's a little bit of grease at the end of the worm gear there. I'm going to try to get that off because you really don't want that grease to go inside the bearing. And when we slide that out of there, all that grease you see on the screen is going to go into the bearing, which I really don't want to happen because then we just have to clean it out. So if we can avoid that, let's avoid it. It seems to still be in very good condition, so I'll save as much of it as I can to put it on the gears again. Just move it over here for now. Yeah, this is not dried up or spoiled at all. And that is still totally good. Alright, that's good enough. We're able to save a bunch of it. Now whatever passes through the bearing, we'll just have to clean it out. One more thing to do. Detach the articulation arm on the bottom. Alright, let's pull up as much slack as we can. What's it that whatever that silver grease was on the front is on the wire too. That's everywhere. Not ideal. Thrust washer. So here you can see the grease. I want to save as much of this as we can so we don't have to get any more. I'll just stick this on the and just stick this back where it belongs on the gear. Because we're going to have to just wipe the rest of this off. If properly cleaned, that should slide out the front with no resistance like it did. Definitely some wear marks on there, so we'll go ahead and polish this down to clean that up. Let's get the thrust washers taken apart here. So this was on the rear. Sometimes these plastic pieces will come off easily, sometimes they won't. This one will. Okay. This one's pretty well locked on there. There it goes. That's for the front. Okay, so we get that cleaned up. The bearings, well, so there's a bunch of grease in the back one, which is what I was concerned about happening. This very frequently becomes the case. You can see all the grease that's in there. So we'll have to clean that out before we reassemble. The front bearing looks pretty clean. We'll clean it out anyways to make sure that all the gummed up oil that may be in there is no longer in there. And we'll add some new oil and get that properly functioning. We're going to start by cleaning up the shaft. I'm going to use the drill press here to spin up the shaft so we can polish it. And I'd like to put a piece of paper around the end of the shaft just to protect it from the chuck, so it doesn't get nicked up at all, because that'll cause a problem during the reassembly process if it does. Okay, that's good and tight. Now we're going to use the Simichrome polishing the paste to clean this up. This was made in Germany. It's a very good polishing the paste. Very effective. Unlike a lot of stuff you can buy today, which is just total junk. And we'll get all those wear marks off that shaft, as well as any sticky residue and grease. Get the whole thing good and clean. Why is this oot switch sticking to the carpet? Looking pretty good. Probably do 2 rounds because it was rather dirty. Much better. Now let's get the bottom cleaned up as well. I'll do 2 rounds on the bottom as well. Make sure we get the paste out of the worm gear there. Alright, that looks much better than it did before. Now we'll clean out these bearings. It's going to take a handful of attempts to get the rear side cleaned because we got to get all that grease out of there. All the grease that entered as we removed the shaft. It's very important to remove all this grease, because this will cause its own host of problems that are similar to the one that we're trying to solve. Okay, that's pretty good. Now we'll get some isoprisol in there to finish flushing it out. The isoprisol from the Bottom Illness brand. Okay, I'm pretty satisfied with the cleanliness of that bearing at this point. Now I'll move on to the front one. The front should not be as bad because there should not be any grease in there. No, it's pretty clean. Okay, now we'll pass through there with the isoprisol alcohol to clean it up a little bit better. The isopristal is very effective at getting the old oil out. I'm going to do it one more time because it seemed like it was still pulling a little bit out of there. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, and then we'll just take one more pass through the rear bearing to make sure that that's copacetic. Yep, it looks good. Okay, the bearings are cleaned out. Now we need to re-lubricate the bearings. This unit and many others have what's called sintered bearings. There are microscopic pores on the inside of the bearing surface which will allow oil to pass through during operation. This has some wicking material around the outside of the bearing, which is this white stuff. Or it's guys more tan in color, and that's where we're going to place the oil. In this particular fan, it looks like either it's deteriorated or was never installed very well in the first place. There's not a whole lot of it remaining, so it might be advantageous to replace it at some point. It'll work in the condition it's in. It just the service intervals are going to be more frequent because it's not holding as much oil as it could. If this was set up properly, this would last a very long time between servicing intervals. Okay, those are now lubricated for what's there anyways, and not as much as it should be. But that's all set. Now we'll move over to the cleaning area and we'll start cleaning the plastic parts. Oh no, we're in a drought. Now we're in a flood. Oh man, that's not good. Well, let's see what we can do. Yeah, the miracle foam is not going to pull through this time. I think this is just permanently stained. Whatever that is has really seeped into the plastic and has left us with a mess that's probably not going to be able to be cleaned up. It's very greasy inside. It's like whatever was all over the car, that nut is all on the inside of this too. This plug is really not making a good seal today. There we go. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's staining. I'm not going to be able to get that to come off. This is all greasy too. Everything here is. That's one of the very few things I find the melamine foam does not work well with, is anything that's like sticky or greasy like this. I might have to use this soap instead. This soap is very good at getting grease and stuff like this off. Oh, this is not easy to get off of here at all. I don't know what this is, but it is very, very tough to remove. Oh man, I'm gonna have to soak this in something else. I can't even get that off of there. What the heck is this trash? Not good. See, this might have already started to break down the plastic and now it's like seeped in and become one with it. Not good. Doesn't seem like it's affecting the integrity at all yet, but it's not the way that it should be. This is barely touching it. Not good. Really would like to get that off of there. Maybe I'll have to soak this for a while. Put it in here. Have to soak the brush now too. There's a balance here, as there is with everything else. If you do this too much, you'll take off the finish. So really a couple passes is as much as I would ever do on something like this. You're not going to get it perfect, but it's just cheesy plastic painted to look like chrome. It's not really something that you can fully repair, because you can't polish it. It's not real chrome. The guard is actual chrome metal and could be, I don't know if it's chrome, but it's metal and it could be polished back up to like new with steel wool. I have run out of steel wool, so I'm not going to do it this time, but it's easy enough to take the guard off afterwards and take some steel wool to it and make it look nice again. For now, we'll just get it clean, and we can revisit this in the future if so desired. The melamine foam is forbidden on blades like this, so we have to switch to using a sponge instead. This is not too bad. I think this will clean up relatively easily. We'll use the the plastic cleaner and the sponge. Might even just let that soak for a minute. Oh, rats. There's more of that trash on here. What the heck is that garbage? Whoever put that on here needs to be smacked, because it's really creating a headache here for no reason. That's awful. I can't clean this up and have to cancel it out, unfortunately. I like to use those usually for at least 2 or 3 projects a piece, but because of that stupid trash that's on there, which is now on me, and I can't get it off of me either. Very annoying. I want to get that trash on the blade, although it's probably already on there. Is inside the blades. Oh man. I don't even know what to clean it out with. I guess I'll clean it out with this, even though this is dirty. I'm gonna have to clean this up somehow. I might have to go get like a, you know, it might clean it up, condenser cleaner. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go get some condenser cleaner. Unbelievable. I'm gonna go get some condenser cleaner, see if we can get that brush cleaned up. I need that. I have other projects to do today and I need it for that. I don't typically use condenser cleaner in the house because it's very powerful, but we're gonna have to today. This is some already diluted cleaner from last time I used it on an air conditioner. So So this should be ready to use here. Hopefully we can get that brush cleaned up and that knob cleaned up. If this doesn't work, I'm not really sure what else to do. This is certainly the most powerful cleaner that I have on hand. It's working, but we have a minor catastrophe, which is the fact that some of it just spilled onto the counter. I don't know what kind of ill effects that would have on the countertop, so I need to get that off of there right away. And this is exactly why I don't normally use this stuff in the house, because it's really not safe to use in the house. It's far too powerful to be using in the house. And this is a 1 to 4 or 1 to 5 dilution. So it could end up being a lot stronger than this. Yeah, this is not good. Oops. You know what? I'll just put that right there for now. Okay, looks like I got it off the countertop in time. I'm not normally one to say don't try it at home, but do not use condenser cleaner in the house, at home, or at work, or anywhere else. It's just not a good idea. But it is working. My brush is cleaned up, and this is cleaning up. That piece is now clean. I'm actually going to hit the rear guard with this while I've got it out. That is definitely the first time I've ever hit a Galaxy 2150 with condenser cleaner. Hopefully we'd never have to do that again. But I wouldn't really be surprised if we do. Okay, now I want to clean these brushes off a little more thoroughly. It's got some junk on the end there. Get these ready for the next project. I've never had to clean the brushes with condenser cleaner before. This is ridiculous. Whatever the heck that is ridiculous. Well, I guess there's a first for everything. Okay, let's get this condenser cleaner closed. This is making me very nervous. If this spills, I don't know how the heck to even clean that up. I can't touch it. Okay, I'll go put this back outside. Yeah, it's definitely unusual to have to break out the condenser cleaner on a desk fan cleanup project. It's starting to rain now. Back outside. And I certainly don't want it to spill outside either, but I'd rather it spill outside than inside. Okay. That was an extreme. I've never... Oh, no. It's staining the, sink. I might have to get that dang condenser cleaner back in here. Now, this is kind of taking it off. Man, I don't know what that is on there. That is some nasty stuff. Wow. not good. I want to make sure we get this really cleaned out of here so that it doesn't get on anything else. Clearly it's not going to come off of much else it gets on. It's all over the brush holder too now. You never know what you're going to get doing this type of work on any kind of equipment. You just never know. That was definitely one of the most toxic substances I've ever encountered on a desk fan. Sure we get all that junk off these gloves too. Yes, the gloves are used for many, many projects. There's no reason to cancel them out. Pretty much nothing around here is canceled out unless it is just completely and fully consumed, which these gloves are nowhere near that point. Well, the brushes are certainly nice and clean now. Glad this cleaned up. I needed that for the rest of the day. This has probably cleaned hundreds of fans as well, like many of the other tools around here. Put that there to dry out. Just about out of plastic cleaner. I'm gonna grab another carton of that before we're done here. Get this all cleaned up. always like to reset the cleaning area before we move on. And since we film everything, we film this too. Because now when we go to this next time, it'll be ready to go. There's nothing worse than going to use a tool or a piece of equipment or an area and then it's all screwed up or not working or dirty or just not ready to be used. I hate that. So I always take a couple extra minutes to make sure that everything is ready to use next time. Okay, the surface cleaner is right under here. That's stinking glass cleaner. I need plastic cleaner. There we go. Now next time when we're in the middle of something, we won't run out of plastic cleaner. It's a lot easier to grab it now than it would be some other time. The plastic cleaner. Just have that there ready to go. Reset the camera thing so that's in the right angle. Okay, now we're done here. Ready to go back to the bench and finish reassembling the fan. All that's left for the cleaning portion of this project is now the thrust washers. And we'll clean this with isoprisol as well, so that's good and cleaned up. Make sure we get any remnants of the polish off of there. It's going to work a lot better now. It's got a good, clean, polished surface to operate on. Oh, there's quite a few of these things in there. And you can tell this is the rear one because it's very greasy. It's got a lot of that oscillation box. Sounds like a stinking farm in here. The farms are important. No farms, no food. If you like to eat, you should like farms. These are quite dirty, which is usually what we find when there's a completely locked up motor like this. This part doesn't spin on the shaft, but it's important to clean the center of it out anyways, because when you slide this back in place, it's going to slide over to the bearing surface area. So you don't want any contaminants inside here that can go off onto the shaft and make a mess. So we're going to clean this inside pretty good. All that junk would have ended up back on the shaft. Do not want that. Not want that trash in there. Okay. That's pretty clean. Now we'll move on to the front portion, which should not be as bad because it wasn't really exposed to that sticky oscillation gear box, farm sheep, farms no food, whatever part grease thing. On this particular unit, it is a different assortment of washers. Or are they just stuck together? No, it's not a different assortment. They're stuck together. So I want to make sure that we get these apart so we can clean them individually, because these should be able to spin amongst each other. There was 3 in the back. I find it hard to believe there's only 2 in the front, but that might be the case. I guess it's the case. This is actually quite dirty. Yeah, that's going to need a fair bit more cleaning still. It should not feel sticky at all. And it was feeling kind of sticky. Okay, that's all cleaned up. We're done with the isoprisol now. So let's reassemble. So this is for the front. The rubber washer goes first, and then these two. This is for the back. The back. And it's important for these plastic washers to be down all the way. Otherwise, there will not be enough play in the shaft and it won't work. I like to put some oil in between these to start. Okay. Now let's get this back into the bin. So we're going to slide the shaft in from the front first. We'll put a little bit of oil on the shaft to start. Put some oil inside the bearing to start. Put some oil in the back here to start, and then we'll slip this back on. I don't know why it's not getting a good firm fit on there. Why is it not shutting? And this is locked up. So I have a hunch that I have a suspicion that those plastic washers are not pushed through all the way, because this should not be having any difficulty shutting. They sure look down all the way to me, but let's try to push them down further, I guess. That's really the only thing that can be going wrong here. It's not any other logical problems that I can think of. That's definitely on all the way. And so was that one. I don't see nor feel any space. Okay, so what on earth has happened? Ah, I see what I did. I put these on backwards. That's the problem. These don't go on like this. Oh, this is not good. These go on like this. That's why there was a space issue. Okay, now there should not be any problems. That makes perfect sense as to why there was an issue. There is a user error. And sometimes those happen. No, I'm not going to cut that part out. No point in it. It's real. Sometimes people make mistakes. Okay, good. That closed properly this time. That's turning. It's very stiff, but we'll get to that in a minute. Alright, so let's close the motor up now. We'll need to use the JIS bits to tighten this down. Can thread it in with the regular one, just I don't like that other screwdriver, but the final tightening should be done with the correct bit. What happens is this is just it's a loose fit, which is not good. That's how you strip out screws. So I'm just going to use this until it starts to meet any resistance and then stop. Okay, now we'll grab the correct bit and tighten it down. These do not have to go very tight, just uniform, snug and uniform. Alright, let's see if the shaft is easy to turn. It probably won't be. Actually, it's pretty good. But if it's not, you take a screwdriver handle and just kind of tap it around a little bit, different angles, and it'll eventually free up as the bearings realign themselves. That's about where I would expect it to be. So we'll leave it there. That's good. I'm going to add a couple more drops of oil in manually just to give it something to start with. I'll dump some oil down the shaft here in the back, so that I can get to the bearing. This motor feels good. I don't feel any wear or any abnormal play. Let's reattach the oscillating the arm. Get that dust off of there first. Don't need that. It's not going to help us with anything. Sometimes these screws are reverse threaded. This one does not appear to be. Okay, let's put the oscillation apparatus back in place. I'll just take the gear and grab all that grease that I left on the side there, so that the gear is good and greased up now. Put that back in place. Put that back. Okay. I should be done with all the greasy parts, so I'll go wash my hands so I don't keep recontaminating stuff, and then we'll finish reassembling. Push the extra slack back down. And this is just how it is. Never got recalled to my knowledge. Okay, next we'll go back to the front and put this back on. I'll clean it up a little bit so it's not full of dust. And we'll tap this piece back in, the piece that aligns the blade on the shaft. That can mess up the bearing alignment because you're tapping on the shaft, but it doesn't seem to have. Okay, now we're ready to put the motor housing back on, which doesn't look too good, but that's just the way it is this time. At least it works good. It'll be 100% mechanically sound. Notice how the driver just jumps right out of it. If we use the correct bit, the JIS bit, it doesn't do that. Very interesting stuff. Alright. Rear guard. It says up. I don't know what difference it makes because there's no handle, but we'll follow the directions it gives. And I'll make sure that the little tab is in place and not just smashed over like it was previously, which is wrong. This is good and cleaned up now. Unfortunately, because that tab was busted up before, it's no longer sturdy. So the guard is going to spin around a bit, but it doesn't really matter because there's no handle on it anyways. See, it's mechanically sound. We're just going to reuse the little pieces of wire for now. Sometimes you can still find these clips, new old stock and so forth. Air Queen used to supply these clips up until fairly recently, I think, because I believe the 9-inch Air Queen oscillator fan actually still shipped with them, which is interesting. I've heard some people say that fan has since been discontinued. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not. A lot of people seem to jump to conclusions when the prices on Amazon or whatever go up that something is discontinued. And sometimes that is the case, but not always. Alright, that's pretty good. It's actually quite a secure way of holding it and it doesn't look too bad. Alright, let's put the oscillations knob on, and it just kind of goes on with violence. Alright, now we'll go back to the cleaning area and we'll clean up the base and we'll clean up the cord and then we'll be done. Alright, so we'll have to get a new piece of melamine foam because I'm not using the one with the other toxic stuff on there. Let's see how this cleans up. It might not clean up very well at all. I'm not really sure what to expect here. If it's a similar type dust. Actually, it's cleaned up pretty good so far. There's definitely some of that greasy junk on this base for sure. And we'll finish up with the cord. The back did not clean off too well at all, but that's kind of what we're dealing with this particular project. Yeah, there's that grease all over this cord. This must have been used in like some kind of shop or a garage type environment. Very, very dirty, and something that this was not intended for. Cord's cleaning up pretty well though. Alright, let's go back to the studio and take a final look. It's not perfect, but it's certainly a lot better than it was. It's fairly presentable cosmetically, with the exception of the rear motor cover, which is stained. Actually, the whole back of the fan's not too great, but the front's pretty good. And it should actually work now. $119 the volts. It's working perfectly. .32 the amps, 38 the watts, power factor 98. Super efficient, super powerful, quiet, reliable, excellent fan. It's a fair bit out of balance, but it is a Lasco product after all, so that's to be expected. The medium, the low, nice quiet low, only 26 the watts, the off.